Hello everyone and welcome back to the Marvelous Wave channel. Today we're going to be discussing the Avengers 4 trailer in kind of a different format. For this little episode and discussion, we're just going to be addressing the trailer, all the news that we have about it, some various leaks, in, like I said, a little bit of a different format than the edited videos. If you have not seen the breakdown for the Avengers 4 trailer in a very organized fashion, I will link that in the description down below. But this is also a little bit of a setup and promotion to a podcast that I started with my best friend Anthony, if you want to say hello.
Hello, everyone.
So we have this podcast going. I'm just going to address it really briefly. We talk about everything. We talk about Star Wars, Marvel, our lives, bears, sharks. But like I said, for this episode alone, we'll only be talking about the Endgame trailer. But if you guys are interested in following the podcast, I would deeply appreciate it, and I'm sure Anthony would as well. And I will link that in the description down below if you want to check that out. I think it's quality. I think it's really funny, too. And it's definitely a different light than it normally is for my two channels. With that said, let's go ahead and talk about Avengers Endgame. Begin the discussion.
Mm-hmm. Well, we got a title now, finally.
Yeah. What do you think of the title?
It's obviously something that everybody's been speculating was going to be the title for a long time. I mean, that was the first rumor ever. And it's something they've been teasing ever since they, even announced Phase 3. Remember, I think that...
It's Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner said something about Endgame in that trailer that they put out.
Well, in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
I think it's Bruce Banner where he points... he's up there, that's the Endgame. It could be Tony Stark.
No, it was Tony Stark.
Okay, yeah. My bad. Yeah. He says, but Endgame is actually dropped in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Which we all thought that the title of Avengers was revealed in Age of Ultron when, I forget who it is. I think it's Scarlet Witch, actually. She's like, oh, I looked inside your head and saw Annihilation.
Yeah.
And Vision is like, look again.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody thought and speculated that it was going to be in Age of Ultron that the title was revealed, which it was revealed in Age of Ultron, just not what we all thought. He was up there, that's the Endgame. Mm-hmm. And then Doctor Strange, obviously, in Infinity War was like, we're in the Endgame now, which made the Russos a bunch of dirty, filthy liars. Because they said that the title was not said in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Which I believe at one point in time, they genuinely believed that it wasn't, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that a little bit?
Well, they were... it recently came out that apparently they've been debating on what the title was going to be for all the way up until last week.
Yeah.
Is it going to be Infinity Gauntlet, which was apparently the working title for a very long time? Is it going to be Endgame? Is it going to be Annihilation? And then I think that because it came time for a trailer, they kind of had to, own it and say, all right, we got to pick one. And they went with Endgame, which I think is probably the best title they could have done. Annihilation I like, but to me Annihilation kind of sounds generic. I was explaining to you earlier, to me that sounds like it could be the tagline on a Transformers movie, Transformers 6 Annihilation of Cybertron or something like that. And I think that Endgame, it's not necessarily a complicated name or anything like that. It doesn't say a lot other than these are the final days. These are the highest stakes, and I think it's ultimately a good title, but also that's kind of the least important part of this trailer. We don't get a lot of information with this trailer either, and most of what we see is probably all the first act.
Right.
But
right.
For a trailer that shows no action at all, it still got me pretty excited.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely a teaser.
Yeah.
It's not I don't know. Marvel has our money already.
Yeah.
Especially with Avengers 4. Mm-hmm. Infinity War had this big epic trailer, and it was this huge event thing. And every Avengers film is an event movie.
Yeah.
It's no longer even a movie at that point.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain films that are events.
Yeah.
Where it's a Star Wars, main episodic one. That's an event film. Or an Avengers movie.
Yeah.
And Civil War you can throw in there. But... it's kind of this trailer feels different. It's not as epic as Infinity War or the Civil War trailers were, but it's definitely it's establishing the tone.
Uh-huh.
And something that I've always loved about Marvel and respected about Marvel is even like in the darkest of times, they still have a lot of comedy. Like in the end with Ant-Man, it's great, right?
Absolutely.
That's the best scene in the trailer, although there's not a lot in the trailer. But I think that we will get a bigger event trailer down the line.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a teaser. One of the biggest things is it was rumored that there would be a time jump in the beginning of Endgame. But now we know that there's, at least in the first act, not a time jump.
Yeah.
It opens up directly with Tony Stark and I assume Nebula in the ship drifting in space.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, there are leaked set photos of an older Tony Stark. He's got like blonde gray in his hair. Obviously, we don't know if that's an alternate Tony Stark that they experience in the quantum realm at some point, or if there is a time jump after he gets back to Earth, which is what I assume happens.
Yeah. But also, it's like those pictures of the older Tony Stark. It's like the older Tony Stark, but he's in the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Which is really weird because I think it just shows you that there's going to be a lot of time jumps. Like, what I am hoping for is that we get a flashback and a flash forward. I think it would be really interesting to see what the world looks like in 10 years after the snap. See how people recover and how the world kind of moves on. And I think that they have a lot of really cool ideas that they could play with, where it's like, imagine if like 10 years after the snap, people realize that like, yeah, it sucked to lose everybody, but at the same time, maybe a lot of the world's problems are fixed because there's less people. And then they have to like decide, it's like, do we want to save the people that didn't deserve to die and, you know, risk losing this future where everybody's actually doing all right? Or do we leave it the way it is? I think that they could have a lot of complicated ideas, which I think only the Russos really do in these Marvel movies. But that being said, it's kind of hard to tell where they're going still, because these past two movies, Infinity War and now Endgame, are like some of the only Marvel movies where you can't really predict where the movie's going. Like we were talking about this earlier too. It's like it was as if every Marvel movie that ever came out, we knew exactly like all the story beats and what was going to happen. Like when Age of Ultron came out, we knew that there'd be a different Avengers at the end, and we knew that the Hulk would find his way in space. And then like the movie comes out and you're like, yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Right. And this is something you don't really know about.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the time, like going back in time and stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously the popular theory is that they will use the time stone. I am almost 100% that is wrong.
Yeah.
And there's one line in another Marvel movie that I think proves that this time travel thing is going to be a thing.
Yeah.
But that they won't use the time stone.
Mm-hmm. What's that line?
It's in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it's where Janet warns them not to get stuck into a time vortex from the quantum realm. Mm-hmm. So we know that they have quantum realm suits, so they're going to like manipulate the quantum realm to like be able to venture into different points down the timeline.
That makes sense.
And there's also the theory that like Scott Lang uses one of these time things to like get back to the real world and get with the Avengers, and that the time vortex that he goes through is one that leads farther down the timeline in Avengers 4.
Yeah.
So like when Cap is like, is this happening right now? That obviously implies that Scott Lang has been missing for some time, right? But the theory goes that Scott Lang, for him, it's literally just been like a few minutes that he's been in the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because in the quantum realm, time and space aren't the same as they are in like, you know, the regular world.
Right.
And that's something they addressed in the first Ant-Man too. They explain like, you know, over there, that stuff doesn't matter. It's like a completely different, you know, dimension.
Right. So like that's the whole thing. That's the big theory, is that Scott Lang literally like, it's this idea that he has entered into a different point in the timeline.
Yeah.
Where like the Avengers realize maybe we can manipulate that further and use the quantum realm to go to a part in the timeline where we can go fix things and ensure that the snap doesn't happen, or alter things further. And obviously with the leaked concept art, we know Iron Man goes into it. All the Avengers pretty much go into the quantum realm.
Even Rocket.
Yeah, even Rocket goes into the quantum realm. That's something else I want to talk about. There's no, we don't see Rocket.
Yeah.
We only get a very brief glimpse of Thanos, and the explanation for that is extremely simple. The VFX shots are not done for the film.
Yeah.
They wrapped filming, a month ago? Maybe less?
Yeah, and they have a lot of work to
so
do on it.
The reason that we didn't see that stuff, and obviously because it's a teaser, is none of the CGI shots are done or rendered. I'm sure they're working tirelessly on it.
Yeah.
But that's a big reason why these characters aren't seen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's definitely interesting. So what else do you want to talk about?
This is just something I wanted to point out, not to take it too seriously, but it is something I was curious about when I watched it. I thought when the trailer opened and you see Tony Stark in that ship, I had this thought in the back of my head after I had watched it a couple times, and I was like, I bet he has like a fully perfectly groomed goatee in that shot. And then I went back and I was like, that can't be true, right? And then when I watched it, he did grow back his beard kind of all over his face.
That's perfect.
Yeah, he's really scruffy looking, and also he looks kind of thin, like he hasn't been eating. Which he says that he ran out of food
4 days ago.
How long do you think he was actually in that ship then? Probably a while.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say that long.
Yeah.
Because they give away half their supplies to Thor in Infinity War.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't assume very long at all, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a week or two. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Probably something like that.
It can't be that long at all.
I don't imagine it was longer than a month or anything.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But something else is that if you look at the Avengers facility in the trailer, it looks unkempt, which again shows passage of time. On Earth, it looks unkempt and it almost looks like the Avengers have almost given up completely at figuring out what to do, which makes sense.
Well, I'm sure that it's probably a worldwide thing too. I can't imagine if an event like that ever happened in real life where suddenly half of the people were dead. I can't imagine anybody going to work in the morning. You know what I mean? I think everybody would just collectively mourn for a year. And
in the Prelude comic, it explains that the Avengers don't share what actually caused it.
Yeah.
Because in their minds, it's what good does this do?
Yeah. It wouldn't help anybody.
Which I think is an interesting idea.
Yeah. Do they explain in that Prelude comic what the world calls the snap? Because I heard
decimation.
It's called the decimation.
Yeah, which is what they called the House of M storyline in the comic books.
Oh, yeah?
Which is interesting. It's kind of callback to that. Mm-hmm. For those of you that don't know, House of M is when Scarlet Witch went crazy and wiped out 90% of the mutants.
Yeah.
So that there was only 10% of mutants left. Mm-hmm. She has this huge freak out and screams no more mutants. And it's an interesting callback to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they call it the decimation. So... which makes sense.
Yeah.
And again, it has basis in the comics. But did you see that concept art of the Iron Man suit that's kind of broken apart?
Yeah, I have actually.
Yeah. What do you think of that? Do you think that plays some type of role, obviously? And also, how do you think Tony Stark gets out of space? Because there's two big theories.
Yeah, well, I know that we were talking earlier about the idea that it could be possible that through Tony's message to Pepper, that Pepper receives it and then maybe dons some sort of prototype Iron Man suit that Tony made for her, and that would be the rescue suit, because we know that that's going to be in the movie.
Yeah, the rescue armor is confirmed.
Yeah, and because of the line where he was drifting in space with no, what's the line exactly with
no hope of rescue.
No hope of rescue, something like that. That line where he says rescue seems like it's kind of foreshadowing her saving him, and then because of that line, he's like, "I'm going to call you rescue," something like that.
That's dumb.
It's dumb.
I would rather just have it be that's her name in the comic books, and they don't say it.
I know, but it doesn't even have to be like that. But that could just be a mild hint,
right? I think it's hinting at that for sure.
Yeah.
Another possibility, I think you were going to get there, but it's that Captain Marvel on her way back to Earth
Yeah.
discovers like this message.
Yeah.
This message in a bottle, and like decides to rescue Tony. But there's also this other theory that Captain Marvel is in the quantum realm herself.
Yeah.
Because we know that Captain Marvel's been missing. It takes place in the 90s. So there's a huge gap where she's gone.
I think it's actually confirmed to be 1995, by the way.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. There's this huge gap where she's not there. She's not in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is where like a lot of the remnants of the Star Force are with what is his name? The guy that confronts Star-Lord when he's getting the orb. Oh, I know his name. He's a member of Star Force and Captain Marvel. Starts with a K.
Korath?
Yeah, Korath.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
We know that Korath was a member of Star Force, and also that Ronan is a part of the Kree Empire and stuff. And Captain Marvel is obviously not in Guardians of the Galaxy. They don't even mention her in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, no.
So I just think like it's possible that she's in the quantum realm too. And there's also the major theory that I believe that she actually draws her powers from the quantum realm.
Yeah.
So
Her powers do look very similar to what the quantum realm looks like in both the Ant-Man movies.
Right.
Kind of like that super like iridescent, colorful, kind of like almost like rainbow looking energy. And it's got a lot of reds and yellows and stuff, which is like the two I think most prominent colors in the quantum realm.
right.
So that definitely could be. The thing that I think about that theory, though, as far as her saving Iron Man and bringing him to Earth, is that seems like too much to me for like Nick Fury to send out this message to her and then also her stumble into a message from Tony Stark. Like, it seems like too many messages going to Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm not saying that it couldn't work. I mean, it could work.
Could she save Ant-Man from the quantum realm? Or do you think the time vortex thing is more likely?
I'm not sure. It could be a time vortex thing. I think it would be fun in that movie for like Ant-Man to run into Captain Marvel, because to me that's like the two
It's the most
opposite
powerful and like
Yeah.
not that Ant-Man's not powerful, but just like
He is the least serious Avenger, if you'll say, Avenger, compared to the most powerful and most likely very serious Captain Marvel. It's like, a 1 and a 10. They're just the complete opposite sides of the spectrum.
right. Which Marvel's great at. And
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if they have like a thing.
Yeah, Marvel is excellent at coming up with really entertaining pairings like Thor and Rocket Raccoon. Like the idea that those two have like an entire adventure in Infinity War, it's one of the best parts of the movie.
Right.
Sweet Rabbit. It's genius. I think that pairing would work really well. But it's like we're saying though, it's like we really just have no clue what's going to happen in this movie. It could go any way.
Right. Captain Marvel is the big thing. I would say if I had to guess, the Avengers go through a time vortex and Thanos, with the power of the Infinity Stones, kind of gains the ability to meet them at certain points in time, potentially, because he has the time stone and the power. And the space stone.
Yeah.
So if he figures out where they are, he can like go there himself.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Do you
right?
think that he'd be able to actually generate that kind of power with the stones too, though, after the snap? Or maybe they could even do a thing where it's like he's capable of doing that time travel, but it maybe takes a toll on him physically, kind of like the snap did, because he's already so drained and the Infinity Stones are already so drained from the snap.
If you look at the trailer, actually, Thanos is limping.
Yeah.
Just like he is at the end of Infinity War. He's still limping. And another thing is, and I was going to make a full video on this.
Yeah.
He's wearing like a knitted shirt and knitted pants, just like he did in the comic books.
Yeah.
So this is Farmer Thanos.
Yeah.
But the Infinity Gauntlet's still like on his arm.
Do you think it's stuck?
Absolutely, I do.
Like his arm is so damaged, and like I'm sure like the damage to his arm and the gauntlet itself, they probably just kind of fused together.
Right. I think it is stuck on his arm.
That's really cool.
I was
thinking
cool.
about that earlier today, and I realized like if he still got that gauntlet on, it's probably stuck.
Right. I'm sure it's stuck.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't he have taken it off at that
He
point?
probably would have.
It's
like
like
what threat is there?
If you look at it in Infinity War, it is so like burnt and destroyed. It probably has literally melded to his arm.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
horrific and awesome is that?
It's so cool. There are little details that the Russos know to do that are just like the most incredible thing in all these Marvel movies. They're by far, I think, the best directors in the universe.
Yeah. They've done a great job. They have like my 3 favorite movies.
Yeah.
And then you have Thor Ragnarok up there.
Yeah.
But it's just like Civil War, Winter Soldier, Infinity War. Like quality wise, like they are 3 for 3.
Yeah.
Like, this whole like, trilogies are cursed in like Marvel universe directors. It's like you have like people that point to Sam Raimi, and I can't think of another one.
Or people always point to Christopher Nolan too with the Dark Knight trilogy because people always complain about the quality of The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Basically, the whole idea behind the theory is that a director will make a trilogy and they'll get really excited on the second movie because they already made the first movie, so they don't need to set up anything anymore. Like the characters are, they're developed, so then you can maybe throw in a better villain. And this works with like, Spider-Man 2, this works with The Dark Knight. But once you get to the third movie, the director's kind of burnt out and they lose passion or they just get tired. So it doesn't end up as good as the second movie. So there's like a climb in quality with the second one and then a departure of quality when they do the third movie.
Yeah.
But that hasn't happened at all with the Russos. And I'm excited that Infinity War and Endgame were shot
Same
back to
thing.
back.
Same movie.
Yeah, it's basically because even they were going to call it Infinity War Part 1 and 2.
Right.
It's
And I don't know about you, man, but I am watching Infinity War leading right up until I leave to go to the Endgame.
Yeah, right.
I am.
Yeah, of
like that's
course.
what I'm doing.
We're probably going to watch that movie 5 times again before we even get to that release date.
I'm just talking about like I am before I leave
Yeah.
to go to the movie theater with my advanced tickets, so I don't have to wait in some stupid line. I am going to watch and time it out perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to watch Civil War, Infinity War, and then Endgame.
Yeah.
And I'm going to cry.
Oh, I know. It killed me watching Captain America cry in the trailer. I was
Did
just
it?
like, don't cry, Cap. It wasn't your fault.
It got me way worse with Iron Man.
Iron Man, that's so sad. To me, that's actually my favorite scene in the trailer. Because it's one of those things that just, I think, reflects on the character of Tony Stark, where he's so... he's just so wise in that opening scene when he tells Pepper, it's like, don't feel bad about this because, the end is part of the journey.
Right.
And he realized that like he did his best and he couldn't save the day after all.
And he's okay with it almost.
Because it's like he knows that these are his final moments and he has to make peace with that.
Right.
And he's probably also optimistic about the future without him because I'm sure that he has hope where he's like, this may be the end for me, but it doesn't have to be the end for everybody else. And maybe somebody will take over and learn from our mistakes or learn from, our victories and what we've done and then kind of put things the right way. He knows that there are other heroes out there still too. Cause
right.
Half of them might be gone, but that means the other half is still there. I'm sure there's probably going to be, some dialogue about that, but I really love him as a character. We talk about it all the time. Tony Stark is the best character in this entire cinematic universe, one of the best in movie history, because it's every movie he just gets more and more developed.
And it's consistent.
It's consistent. He does things like little things in every movie that just make you like love him so much. Like in Infinity War, the second he realizes there's a threat to humanity,
he starts stretching.
He starts stretching on the cauldron of the cosmos. Nothing's happened yet. He doesn't know when this threat could come in like 2 weeks for all he knows. But he's stretching immediately because he knows he has to do something.
Because he's ready.
He's just trying to be ready. And I just can't wait to see him die in this next movie. And also, speaking about him dying, I can't wait for tomorrow when the Spider-Man Far From Home
I wanted to talk about that. I want to touch on 2 more things and then wrap it up.
Yeah.
I want to talk about first the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, and then I want to talk about Ronin.
Yeah.
Okay, so Far From Home trailer. This is Sony's marketing. It's like great because it's like an awesome week for Marvel.
Yeah, for real. 3 huge trailers in 1 week.
But you are gonna confuse the people that don't keep up with this stuff.
This is such a bad move.
It's not even Marvel's move, which is the worst part. Do you want to explain?
Yeah, so Sony, because of the way this Marvel deal works, Sony's basically in complete control of everything with this movie except for the creative vision, which is mostly...
The important part.
Yeah, it's the important part. And, like, Sony still has things that they could do and screw up, like the whole timeline thing that they screwed up in Homecoming.
Yeah.
But they're releasing a trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home tomorrow, and I am so worried that they're going to spoil something in Avengers 4 because, you know, Spider-Man is dead, and you have to explain somehow how he came back. And we were joking earlier about, like, how there's going to be, like, some opening line of dialogue where Spider-Man's like, yeah, everything changed after Thanos snapped me to death, but then Tony Stark built his own Infinity Gauntlet and then restored life to all the universe, but then sacrificed himself. And, like, Peter's going to be standing on Tony Stark's grave. And it's going to be, like, the most spoilery trailer ever. I would love it if instead of that, if it was just, like, 2 minutes and 30 seconds of Aunt May crying over Peter Parker's death. Like, something that just doesn't spoil it. But, I mean, we know that there could be a lot of options with how this movie works, too. Like, there's, like, these theories that Spider-Man Far From Home will take place in a timeline that is before Infinity War because they could reverse time to before the snap and then prevent it from ever happening. So then the Spider-Man would live in a universe where he never died. That being said, I don't know why on earth they're doing this. And I understand that this movie is going to come out not very long after Endgame. I almost called it Infinity War. But, like, it sucks that the marketing has to be this 6 months before the movie comes out kind of thing. I mean, I wish that they would try a different marketing tactic, kind of like what they did with Cloverfield Paradox, or even 10 Cloverfield Lane. I feel like they dropped the trailer 2 months before the movie came out.
Yeah.
Like, I understand they want to get on this marketing hype as soon as possible, but we're getting into some weird territory that movies tend to not be in, where it's like, this is really going to be spoilery. And I don't want to see a living Spider-Man while I know he's dead.
Yeah, and, like, it's weird because, like, Marvel's been very careful with it, too. Like,
yeah.
Like, they've never come out and been like, Black Panther 2 officially confirmed.
Yeah.
They've just like, oh, Ryan Coogler back as director at Marvel Film.
It's very...
and it's like, okay, yeah, we know.
It's very vague and almost like just analytical as far as just the dispersion of... Is that a word, dispersion? Of information.
It is now.
Like, all they have done with Phase 4 is just go like, yeah, an Eternals movie. But they don't come out with a logo. You know, they don't say, and now we're announcing the cast, and here's the logo, here's our teaser images or concept art. It's just all kind of up in the air. And I'm sure that eventually we're going to get a full Phase 4 announcement, kind of like what they did with Phase 3.
After Endgame.
Yeah, because I know they know how well their marketing tactic they did when they announced Phase 3 worked. Like, I don't think anybody was more excited for anything than when they did that. And they had, like, the Civil War drop and then, like, the teaser for, like, Infinity War. That was all just, you know, voiceovers and then a final shot of
until
Thanos
this week, that was the biggest week in Marvel Cinematic Universe history.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it was such a big thing for them that, of course, they have to do it again. They have to, like, officially announce the entire slate for Phase 4. Especially since there's a lot of things that, like, you know, they're doing that are going to be completely out of the box. And we don't know a lot. Like, we know there's, like, a Black Widow movie, but we don't know much about it.
Yeah.
We don't know when it's going to come out. It's just all super vague. So they have to touch on that. I just don't want to see the Spider-Man trailer ruin anything.
Me too. I'm a little bit worried. I'm excited to see the Spider-Man trailer.
Yeah.
I'm more excited genuinely to see the internet's reaction to it.
Yeah, true. Like,
not because, like... of anything in the trailer, but like I just can't wait for people to be like, what?
I can't believe that I am put in a position where I don't want a Spider-Man trailer.
Yeah, that's crazy,
it's a
right?
weird feeling, right? It's like, come on, don't ruin this for anybody. But anyway, you said you wanted to talk about Ronan.
Yeah, last thing. I love it.
Yeah, he looks so cool. I love how he, like, you know, wipes his blade on his arm.
Yeah. So if you had watched my trailer breakdown...
I'll get around to it, bud.
I like, why is he hunting Yakuza? Why do you think?
I don't have any idea.
Could they be Skrulls?
Oh. Is he friends with Captain Marvel?
No, but he may know about it.
How would Hawkeye know about Skrulls?
I don't know, bro.
I'm just out of curiosity. I'm not I'm not giving you grief.
Maybe he stumbles upon something in the time jump, and he's like, oh, this person isn't human. What's going on?
Oh, that could be interesting.
Or they could just be bad dudes, and
Yeah.
Hawkeye is taking out his anger on them.
He could just be doing that total vigilante Batman thing.
Right, but Secret Wars is coming eventually.
It has to.
Secret Wars could be the next big thing.
I mean, it wouldn't shock me, especially since it's probably going to take them a while to get to the X-Men and Fantastic Four and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And with Captain Marvel, hopefully it's a huge hit. You can make Skrulls a really interesting idea. And then it's also really fun to be like, all right, so who's been a Skrull this whole time?
Right. And it's also then like Avengers versus like Avengers.
Yeah.
But evil Avengers that you can see get blowed up.
You could have awesome scenes where somebody accidentally kills the real Avenger,
Yeah, I mean, you can do a lot.
It's a really fun idea. It's a way to also bring, high stakes to this universe after the snap, because that's obviously an issue that I know they're all focusing on, is like, where do we go where we could really make a dramatic, intense movie with stakes where we don't have to kill half of everybody.
Right. Right.
And Secret Wars is a great way to go.
You can have people debating over who is a Skrull for like a year leading up to it. It's great. I see a few options for an eventual Phase 4 end villain.
Yeah.
It's like you got Norman Osborn with the Dark Avengers script that was announced.
Yeah.
You got Doctor Doom. You got Galactus. You could go like with another unknown one, like people have talked about, Annihilus. I don't see that. Or you could go Skrulls.
Yeah.
That's what I see.
I definitely think that out of all those options, that Secret Wars is probably what they're looking at the closest.
Most likely because they have the full rights to all of those characters
Yeah.
for starters.
Absolutely. I think it would be amazing to see like an Avengers versus like the Dark Avengers kind of thing. Especially since we were talking about this before too. A good way to play Norman Osborn in this universe would be to make him more than just a Spider-Man villain, because we've seen 2 incarnations of him already, and he is a great character that they should use, but you don't want to retread. So if they make him more than what he's been, and you make a Dark Avengers movie and you make him, or make the Dark Avengers like an Avengers villain, that would be a super interesting way to take that.
Right. Can you imagine like an anti-Tony Stark done well?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Right?
I mean, it would be really cool if Tony Stark was still alive to see that, which he's totally going to die.
But can you imagine like a new Avengers team facing someone like on the level of Tony Stark, but completely evil?
He would be, that would be a really great direction to take it. And I think that's something that's going to be really fun to see in Phase 4, is like, because it's so obvious that they have to take a new direction now. And I think that Kevin Feige has even talked about like Phase 4 is more or less the birth of a new universe beyond what we've already known. And there are things that...
Which is the best way to handle it.
It is the best way to handle it. And I'm sure we're going to see a lot of things that are familiar. Obviously, we're definitely going to get a Black Panther movie. We're going to get a second Doctor Strange, most likely. Because of the popularity of Thor Ragnarok, it would
a fourth Thor movie.
Yeah, it would be a
or
mistake
we even talked about a team up movie.
A team up movie would be great, and they're getting so good at that too. It's like every time there's a new movie, there's always multiple characters in them now.
Yeah,
like you can't do Spider-Man without throwing Iron Man in it, and like Thor Ragnarok with the Hulk, and Doctor Strange even had that cameo. What's another one? I know they've been doing pretty good. I know there's more.
I mean, I guess Winter Soldier kind of set up more Phase 3 stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, can't really... Every movie doesn't really shy away from it, though.
Like the Falcon cameo in the first Ant-Man, though. Like, they have that full fight scene. Yeah.
We're definitely starting at the top with quality like Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And Far From Home. Homecoming. I am going to mix those up for the rest of my life.
I've been doing it for the past couple months. Every time I talk about the next Spider-Man movie, I just keep calling it like Spider-Man Homecoming 2 on accident.
All right. So, final thoughts on the trailer. What do you think?
I really enjoyed it. It's obviously a teaser, but that's not something that we shouldn't expect. The movie's still a half a year away. I just think it's a great setup for the tone and for the misery that all the Avengers are experiencing. Especially, I love when that line with Captain America when he says like, it has to work because I don't know what I'm going to do if it doesn't.
Right.
It's just a perfect setup for the tone, and we knew that it was going to be this dark because how could it not be after the ending of Infinity War?
And the trailer is huge. It's breaking records.
Yeah.
It has more views than the Captain Marvel trailer in 7 hours. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
21 million views in 7 hours.
I mean, it has like the world's greatest cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And it's a satisfying cliffhanger, too.
This absolutely compares with Empire Strikes Back's cliffhanger.
Yeah. I mean, talk about depressing.
Yeah.
Like, the whole, like, lack of hope in the end of Empire, it's, like, dialed to 11 with Infinity War. It's like, oh, everybody's dead.
Something I love about Infinity War, too, is it's, like, this end credit scene. You're thinking, like, oh, it's going to be a little glimpse of hope. And it kind of is. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you get to see 2 more characters that you love get snapped.
Yeah, and you watch the world just fall into turmoil when helicopters crashing into buildings.
Right. Do you remember being in the movie theater thinking, like, getting ready for that little glimpse of hope?
Yeah.
And then it's like, nope.
Yeah. I remember I had a great moment when that end credit scene popped up because you see the Captain Marvel logo on the pager, and the guy sitting right next to me went, Inhumans?
There was a guy at my screening that just wouldn't stop, like, screaming.
Yeah.
And, like, swearing. Like, very bad. And it's like all these little kids are walking out, and he's like, F this movie! Yeah. And he's like, he stood on the railing at one point. You can tell he's clearly just, like, hamming it up for the attention. You can go overboard, man. Like, it's great watching these with an audience, but, like, legitimately, that one dude can ruin it.
Yeah, for real.
It's just like, it was funny for, like, the first 3 minutes, but yeah, why do you have to scream all the way through the credits, bro? We all gotta stay. We don't want to listen to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, my final thoughts on the teaser. It's a teaser.
Exactly.
It's good. I like it. I like the tone that they've set up, which is the point of it.
Yeah.
I almost like in a way that, like, we don't have a whole lot of new information. Mm-hmm. Literally, like, we have pretty much no new information.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that there's no time jump, which is great because realistically, this movie would gross $2 billion without a trailer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, but I like it. I like what's coming up. It feels like the end, but also the beginning, which is awesome and really, really hard to achieve in a trailer. Mm-hmm. I like the contrast between the Infinity War trailer and this trailer. They're very different, but it makes sense. So, that's going to wrap it up. All right, guys. That was our pretty in-depth discussion about major theories for Avengers 4 and Phase 4 at this point.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anthony, for sitting down and nerding out with me for a little while. Again, we have our own little podcast that we'll talk about a whole bunch of stuff. I'm sure other Marvel topics will come up, but other topics as well. And hopefully Anthony will get to the point where he has the time and availability to break down little clips from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then post clips of little Avengers topics.
Yeah.
Or topics about bears.
Or weightlifting.
Or
what's scarier, bears or sharks?
Exactly. Stuff like that.
My opinion is bears.
These sharks are way scary. Anyway, so that will be linked below. If you guys enjoyed this, please leave a like. I definitely appreciate it. And subscribe to The Marvelous Wave and the podcast channel. And I hope you guys have a great day.